Sonic Frontiers was way better than I expected, but I'm not about to review the damn game, seeing as I'm not cool enough to get an early review copy, and I'm not about to rush through the entire game just so I could get it out slightly earlier but still be late to the party anyway. So instead, I decided I'd lose a bunch of subscribers today by going into a mild rant about how I think the game's way too friggin' serious for its own good. Okay, so the basic gist of the story in Sonic Frontiers is that all Sonic's friends get sucked into a cyberspace world and he's gotta get them out, but I'm not gonna spend too much time harping on the details of the plot here, because I don't really have anything negative to say about it, to be honest. When I say the game's too serious, I'm not necessarily talking about the story itself. It's mainly just the way the story's told and how the game's played that goes too far, in my opinion.
It's beautiful here, but there's a loneliness here. The land feels sad and empty.
This is a game about colorful, wisecracking, cartoonish animals trying to thwart a bumbling super genius. Like, it's not that deep, bro. Again, before you duke on me in the comments, I really do like Frontiers for the most part. In fact, I think it's probably the best 3D Sonic game in a long time, possibly even ever, so I don't want to come off as a negative Nancy or anything like that over something that's generally positive in my opinion, but it just kind of drives me crazy on my main issue with the game, something that no one seems to be talking about one way or the other, as if nobody even noticed it. Hell, I wouldn't even say anything if everyone was talking about how much they love these serious tones. I don't really have that many critiques about this game, but literally every single one I have could be categorized into the story, and really just the game in general taking itself way too seriously. Oh yeah, I'm gonna say the word seriously a lot in this video since I can't really find many synonyms that I like, so I don't know, deal with it. And look, I know Sonic the Hedgehog's a really big deal to a lot of people, but I've been around since the very beginning of the franchise. Hell, some of you may even remember that I took a dump on the ground while I was playing Sonic 2 when I was just 5 years old. I swear I don't remember doing it, but I do remember the poop being there and my mom being mad, so if you're gonna try to tell me that I don't have a right to give my 2 cents on a Sonic game, then go ahead and show me your poop that you took while you were playing a Sonic game. Go ahead, I'll wait. Actually, don't do that. I'll probably be convicted of a crime of some sort, or even worse, I might be eating steak while watching cable or something. But my point is that I've seen all of Sonic's ups and downs over the years, and if you ask me, which you kinda already did if you clicked this video, I think the franchise is way better off when it's wacky and campy. And look, I know Sonic Frontiers isn't the first time the franchise tried getting serious, though. We did see Sonic, or technically Princess Elise, commit bestiality in Sonic 06, and even Sonic Adventures 1 and 2 tried being serious. We couldn't take them seriously given how cheesy and bad the dialogue and most of the voice acting was at the time, but I really do think that Sega was trying to make those serious. Thanks to limitations and inexperience, though, those games ended up being campy at the end of the day, but now that the company behind the Yakuza franchise knows how to make a Sonic game with a serious tone, it still doesn't mean that they should. You remember Sonic Colors? Everyone seemed to love that game before the lazy remaster anyway, and the camp in that one was off the charts. You pretty much just played a bunch of levels with fun and upbeat music, followed by cutscenes of Sonic and Tails roasting Eggman with cheesy but fun jokes, and honestly, I don't see anyone who could argue that this is exactly what a Sonic game should be. Well, except for furries anyway. I'm sure they could take this dead seriously. Sonic Generations was like an ass hair less lighthearted than Colors, but I feel like fans souring on Lost World made Sega point fingers on a lot of different directions and what about the franchise needs to change, and even though I personally liked Lost World a lot more than most people did, I can definitely understand why most people didn't really care for the gameplay. But you know what? I don't really see how anybody could duke on the overall feel of the game. After all, Sonic Mania, which wasn't really made by Sega, had all the zaniness Lost World did, and a lot of people thought that it was the best in the franchise, myself included, so I kinda wish that Sega didn't take all the absurdity away in the very next game, Sonic Forces, which featured a story where Sonic's literally imprisoned and tortured for years.
Oh, come on, fudge midnight, come on!
Aside from the torture in a post-apocalyptic world, though, even Forces was like 90% wacky, lighthearted fun with a little bit of seriousness on the side, whereas Frontiers is like 85% sternness with Sonic cracking some jokes here and there and being carefree, but with that ratio, it just kinda makes the jokes feel out of place. Kinda sorta almost feels like this is supposed to be a completely different game until Sonic was squeezed into it at the last minute. I'm not saying I believe that's the case at all, I'm just saying that sometimes it almost kinda feels that way. Again, key word being almost. Like, okay, Mr. Scorsese, I know your story about a POW returning home to his cancerous wife with 5 minutes left to live is very touching, but the lead actor is Sonic the Hedgehog, so it's in his contract that he's gotta make some speed-based puns with a carefree demeanor. Like, I know your bounty in the Sonic community doubles every time you compare him to Mario, but could you imagine if Mario Odyssey had a massive, realistic open world with colorless enemies and serious music playing all the time? How about if Bowser tortured Mario for years until he was finally freed and had to save a post-apocalyptic Mushroom Kingdom? Never mind Mario, imagine if Crash Bandicoot looked realistic and went for a story that made you think and feel. Aside from the boring-looking enemies, though, this is great for a franchise like Zelda, which is why everybody loved Breath of the Wild. And hey, Frontiers did do a great job at making the concept work, so I'm glad Sonic took some inspiration from Zelda, but like, that doesn't mean you have to carry every aspect of Breath of the Wild over. I get that it's not the 90s anymore, but that doesn't mean you can't have an open-world Sonic game full of color and attitude and all the visuals and music. Like, yeah, Frontiers is visually pleasing to look at, but could you imagine if it looked, well, more Sonic-y? I mean, for the love of Terry, not even the actual Sonic the Hedgehog movies take themselves as seriously as Sonic Frontiers does, and the only purpose of those is to just tell a story. These movies were goofy as frig and never took themselves too seriously, and wouldn't you know it, just about everybody loved them, even the furries. You remember when the first Mario movie took itself seriously? Yeah, that sucked. Yeah, Sonic Frontiers never went close to the same territory of seriousness as the first Mario movie, but why is nobody noticing how serious it is at all? Again, I don't even think the story in Frontiers is a bad one at all, but it's not just the plot, it's running around in a realistic world with dreary music playing all the time while you fight gray robots with literally zero personality. And look, I'm not saying a Sonic game can't have a plot, or even a serious one for that matter, it's just that when your characters look like this, and have decades worth of moments like this...
Watch out! You're gonna crash! Ah!
You can only really take this shit so seriously, you know? For Sonic Frontiers to take more notes from Breath of the Wild than Mario Odyssey just shows a total lack of self-awareness if you ask me. For the millionth time though, I really did think Sonic Frontiers was a great game, and if you like Sonic at all, I really recommend you check it out. But I really felt like I needed to bring this up since I don't see anybody out there talking about this aspect of the game one way or another, and I kinda think it's important we figure out whether or not we like it going forward. Maybe nobody noticed since they were too focused on the gameplay, or maybe the people who did notice don't care enough about Sonic to speak up about it. But you know what, I also don't see anyone out there praising the seriousness of this game as some sort of a magical, soul-touching experience either. I mean, I'd love to see another Sonic game in this style, and I give Sonic Team and Sega all the credit in the world for this being their first attempt at an open-world game, especially considering my expectations were like piss low going into it. I'd just appreciate it if Sega'd lighten up a little bit and keep things a little more upbeat and fun next time around. Anyway, that's all for today, but if you got a kick out of my incoherent rambling and disturbing imagery though, then you should check out this video I made ranking every Green Hill Zone in the Sonic franchise, but if you'll excuse me though, I gotta go water my snake. Later!